Jay's Media Days in the bag. What did we learn? What do we still have to find out? And did we have more questions today than we did yesterday? We'll touch on all that and more. It's the Roll Jays podcast.
Heads up, it's the Roll Jays podcast, the voice of the Creighton basketball fan. With your hosts, Jimmy Allen and Casey Matthews. Join the crew and meet CU players, coaches, and a whole lot more. Now, the Roll Jays podcast. Here's Jimmy Allen.
Welcome back to the Roll Jays podcast. Jimmy Allen, Casey Matthews with you here, brought to you by Pepper Jack's Grill and Pyramid Contractors. Casey, I think Jays fans across all of Omaha and maybe across the world let out a big sigh yesterday when it got announced that Owen Freeman fully a go in practice, and sounds like the guy we're planning on being our center all season long may be ready to go by the opening part of the season.
He might be, yeah. And I think we said it early on, like, have no fear, relax. The injury is fine. We have a really good trainer, we have a great strength and conditioning coach. Like, we're gonna be fine. I am cautiously optimistic for the beginning of the season. I mean, I'd be shocked if we see him much at all, if at all, against Iowa State.
Right.
But the fact that he's in practice now, he's cutting, he's jumping. You know, we saw him doing the charge drill, which, again, when you're doing that drill, people are landing underneath you. Like, all those things matter. One of the most important things as he gets back is just going to be his own mind.
Yeah.
And, you know, it looks like, from what I've seen, it looks like he trusts his knee, and he's okay there. But you never really know, right, until you really get going. So, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, and it's certainly going to, as we'll talk today, going to allow Coach Mac to really now figure out what this team can be, and what he needs to do to get this team to the level and to the place that he wants to get them to, you know, as we progress.
Well, and I hate to keep repeating myself, but like, I just think it's really, I don't know if irresponsible is the right word, but probably not smart to think that this thing's going to look completely finished by the time they hit the court against South Dakota, right? I know you're going to get the two scrimmages in on all that, but with Owen's injury and how many moving pieces, like, Creighton's had more returning starters in previous seasons and struggled till the mid part of the season than they do with coming now.
Yeah.
Like, this team's probably a little more talented, but where does that matter and how does that factor in, right? And specifically with a guy like Owen Freeman, it's twofold. It's not only is it the pieces out on the court, it's the pieces on the bench too, right? Because we've seen over the last 4 years that, you know, they've been very comfortable getting guys 36, 37, 38, 40 minutes, and that nobody on this team is used to that. That nobody on this team has had that type of playing time in their career. So it's going to be really interesting to see. It's a comfort level. I mean, coaches are creatures of habit, right? You've talked about Mac's routine about as soon as he's done with the game, it's probably a couple hours before he's on an iPad watching the next game. Now, when you start getting uncomfortable and games get tight, and maybe you're out in Spokane and things aren't going well, do you ride your starters? Do you feel more comfortable with those rotations? Especially when you're only 2 games in to the season, really don't know what the handle on this team is. It's going to be interesting to see how those two dynamics work themselves out.
Yeah, well, so you said a lot there, a lot of really good things, and I think one of the most important things that you said is in regards to not expecting the team that we see here in a couple of weeks to be what we see in March. I'm a huge Miami Dolphins fan, right? And you know that, and it's a hard time. It's a hard time to be a Dolphins fan, but I love some of what Mike McDaniel says in some interviews, and I've heard him say, and I love this, is if our team looks today like it does in you know, later in the season, then we're not very good, right? And I think the point is, like, you want growth, and so if today's version of the Creighton Bluejays is the best version we're going to get this year, well, then we're not going to be very good. And so that I don't think you can look for. Don't expect perfection. Don't expect efficiency. Don't expect those things right away. What you want to see is you want to see mistakes, right? You want to see guys having to understand the offense, seeing, you know, some of what we do defensively is going to change in the middle of the game, just so that we can see those other looks and see, you know, how this team plays certain actions and ball screens and things of that nature. So I think it's important to not harp too much on what it looks like, what is it, next Friday, what it looks like, against South Dakota. Well,
it's almost the staple of Greg McDermott over the last decade is, expect things to be better in February than they are in November.
Great point.
There's a lot of revisionist history that would tell you that that's probably going to be the case this year as well.
I really agree. I can't agree more. And I really have always felt like one of the things about Coach Mack, and one of the reasons why I am proudly the president of the Coach Mack fan club, which I don't know if it exists, but it does now. I'm the president of it, is that he always gets the most out of his players. And what you see over the course of the season is just a steady climb. And to me, that's a sign of somebody who understands human beings, understands, you can't push them every single day. You can't yell at them and scream at them. That's not really Mac's style anyways, but you can't do that kind of stuff.
Well, you can. You might not want to expect great results if you do.
For sure. Unless you're creating a culture of fear, right? Or I don't know if fear is the right word, but that's one of the things about Coach Hurley to me that separates him is he can coach that way, and he coaches that way from day one. However, and gets his players to play hard. That's his thing. Now he still loves them and does those things.
Setting expectations though.
Exactly. Where to me, Coach Mack really tries to relate, tries to get to know people, and tries to find out, what makes you, and use that information to find the right buttons to push. I just think he does it different, and he gets the most out of his players, and I love that. And that's why I'm the president of the fan club. But I think I appreciate that a lot. It was a hard campaign. But over the next couple of weeks, what I'm excited about now, having Owen there, is now I really believe this staff can take a look and say, okay, here's what we think we're going to try early on, right? Here's what the first game, here's some rotations we want to throw out there. What's it look like now with Jackson maybe at the 3 and Jason at the 4 and Owen at the 5?
Right.
What is, you can do some of that stuff now. Now we've talked at nauseum about Blake Harper and what's Blake's role. You can identify some of that now because you have your 5-man that you counted on, that you went out and got. I mean, how quickly do we?
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So now you can really say, okay, this is the squad. What do we need to do to maximize and be ready to go against South Dakota, against Gonzaga, and do those things? The interesting thing will be the conditioning side of it. This is where I just have to heap praise on, Ben and Jeremy. Jeremy is so good at keeping guys in shape, even when they're hurt. And not every strength and conditioning coach can do it. Jeremy relies on science and he has a lot of tools at his disposal to help him. But the guys are in shape. When Jeremy tells Mac and Ben tells Mac, hey, he's ready to go. He's ready to go. And Mac trusts him. Exactly. Yeah. And so that'll be interesting to me to see is he's not a 40-minute guy anyways. So it's not like we need him. No, we don't need him to get to that level, but he does need to be able to play the 28 area, right? And
which
really
is where he's been at Iowa. I think he averaged 27.5 minutes, if I remember correctly. The other question about the rotation of the, there's a lot of questions. For me personally, I think my second one is, how does Ty Davis figure into this equation? And what are the differences between what you expected out of Steven Ashworth last year versus Nick Graves / Ty Davis this season? Now, obviously, Ty had the ability to learn under Steven. It's probably going to look a little more similar, not from a shooting standpoint, but from the way he conducts the offense standpoint. But I think it was interesting, Nick's role at Charlotte versus what he's probably going to be expected to do here in Omaha. And he was very ball dominant, and they set screens for him, and the offense kind of placated towards his style. I think it's going to be the opposite effect this year, where he's more of a distributor. He can create his own offense. We've seen that. But I just think he's going to have so many scorers around him. It's going to probably be not only in his best interest, but the team's best interest to probably let him facilitate this offense and maybe really dictating the offense to him scoring the basketball.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly a change because you're going from a guy that you had to guard him as soon as he was over half court to now you don't. And that's no knock on Nick. It's just a different game. He is going to be more of a table setter. He is going to be a distributor and get
which
the
he
team
seems
into
fine
the
with,
offense.
by the way.
For sure. Now, here's the thing. You do have to keep defenses honest. And if they can sit back in the lane and clog things up because you can't hit a perimeter jumper, that's a problem. Now, I'm not saying that's Nick. I trust that Nick will be able to hit those shots when open. But he is not the flamethrower, that you cannot go under a ball screen like Steven was. And that right there, to me, will be very interesting to see what Mac and Huss come up with in terms of the offensive game plan. One of the things that was created such an advantage with having Steven as our point guard was you could not go under ball screens with him.
Right.
Your coverage had to go over. Sometimes he would get trapped, right, because they try to take advantage of his size a little bit. That won't be the case with Nick. But I do think what you'll see is defenses going under ball screens on him, especially early. Try to see if he can shoot. How will that affect what we're trying to do offensively? Now, Owen is not the flip up guy that Ryan Kalkbrenner was, right? So that's not as big of an issue, but the offense is very much so predicated on spacing and timing, and so going under Nick on some of those screens, it's going to be just interesting to see what are the things that Mac does. Are we going to short roll on some of those? When Owen sets a ball screen, instead of rolling hard to the rim or popping, will he some of that short roll action that Mac used to run? I'm drawing blanks on names right now, but with some of his previous 5 minutes that weren't so much of a lob threat.
Like Christian did a little bit of that. I mean,
a little bit, yeah, a little bit. But it'll just be interesting to see what Mac does with that. What are some of the ideas that Huss has? Now, if Nick can come out and hit some shots when guys go under, changes everything. And it allows you to really use your full playbook. Now, you ask, and you were talking specifically about Ty.
Yeah.
This one's tough because there's the personal side of it. We obviously are huge Ty Davis fans, love Ty and love what he brings to the team from a personality standpoint, even from a leadership standpoint. From seeing him on the court, I don't know yet. I don't know. And I think that he has a role. I think that he can come in and play some minutes and relieve Nick. My wonder is this. When you look at the roster and you look at certain, and I'll if I leave some names off, Jimmy, help me out. But you look at Nick, you look at Josh. I'm just naming starters right now. You look at, I think, Jackson, Jason, Owen, right? Then you go Fedor, you go Austin Swartz, you go Hudson Greer, at you Isaac Trout, Karem Conan. Obviously, those are big men, so those don't factor in. But when you start to name some names, when do you get to Ty Davis?
I think the second guard you named is the most interesting, right? I think it's the difference between what Nick gives you and what Fedor gives you, and the difference obviously the most obvious one would be experience. Fedor obviously had been in this program for a year last year and was able to run some scout team stuff before he even got into the offense, and I think that helped him out tremendously. And then you saw it to click for him at the end of the year. Now Ty Davis also has that same experience level, and he's got another year in a college weight program, which I think is probably the biggest deal for Ty this season.
Mm-hmm.
And how he came on in the Big East tournament, I know it's a very small sample size. You have to reward that to some degree as a coaching staff, in my opinion.
But how? I mean, I guess tell me more about how you want to reward that.
It's not even just that. It's the way he's been a champion for this program, the way he's been an ambassador for this program, the way he's helped peer recruit. You've got to get him some playing time. We've been talking about this for 6 months now. There's a lot of shooters, there's a lot of scorers, and there's a lot of dudes on this roster. So, I mean, obviously you can't show favoritism or take the best player off the court, but I think Ty has done enough to show you that when the red light goes on, he can deliver. Now, he had some shortcomings last year too. I don't want to make it sound like he was this all Big East caliber player the minute that he hit the floor, but he progressively got better. What have we been talking about this entire episode? Max teams progressively getting better as seasons go along. And if you got players that could do that as well, and knowing this coaching staff the way they do, I will be surprised if there's not maybe a significant, but a major difference in the minutes Ty Davis got last year versus this year.
I think I think you have to throw out last season.
To some degree, yes, because it's a completely different team. But not the season itself, but the way he responded when you called on him. That's more what I'm referring to.
Sure, and I certainly think the biggest thing there is the confidence that hopefully Ty took from that. Okay, now, and I do see where you're going. In a perfect world, in a fair world, maybe some would say, I would tend to agree a little bit more. However, it's now where you're in a situation where we don't know how long Mac's going to be here. I've been, even though I'm the president of the fan club, I still think it's a year.
And the president of the retirement club too.
No, I don't want that to happen. I'm just saying what I think is going to happen. And so I think that's going to factor in. Now, early, is he going to have a little bit longer leash? Yeah, I could see that. The point I'm trying to make is this: when you start naming off our roster, and everybody wants to talk about how deep we are, I just think there's gonna have to get to a point where you say, okay, are we better with just having Fedor and Josh on the court, or are we better with Ty and Josh? Are we better with maybe Hudson Greer, at the 2 and sliding Josh to the 1? I don't know. Okay.
Right.
What the point I'm trying to make is, typically you want to have the guys on the court that you truly believe are going to help you win the game. And based on what I've seen so far, I just don't know if that's Ty. I hope it is, because I like the kid and I think he's got some talent. But the thing to me that separates Fedor, specifically in him, is Fedor's ability to create his own shot. Well, his ability to create his own shot, to get by people, to set other people up. I think I look at Ty as a guy that hopefully can come in and be steady, not turn it over, get the offense into the set that they're trying to run, do a respectable job defensively. That to me is an opportunity, because I don't look at Fedor and go, man, that guy can really guard. Okay. I think he's a very good offensive player. Hopefully he takes some steps defensively. But that's an area where you could see an opening. I caution people on Ty. I want the best. I hope that he comes in and absolutely kills it. I really do. But the issue when you have a deep team and you have a lot of competition at these spots,
somebody's going to be on the bench.
The cream's going to rise to the top, and we're going to see, and we'll see if that's Ty or not. But I think no matter who it is, the offense is going to be different, because you don't have that guy that can shoot the ball as soon as he crosses half court and really keep that floor spaced, at all times. So that will be an interesting challenge, and something that Mac and Huss have to work through. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think, like I said, just what we mentioned a little bit ago, with coaches being creatures of habit. If things go wrong, you're going to go to what you know. And if Nick struggles a little bit out of the gate, and Fedor, is got a ton of minutes on him in a game, I think Ty might just be the answer by default, because he's who you know versus who you don't, right? And again, this team's been together for a little while now, but we've never really seen them in live action yet. So,
but I guess we're also projecting, right?
But I think it's also important to point out that what you see in the Iowa State scrimmage, the Colorado State scrimmage, probably isn't going to be exactly the way things shake out for the rest of the season either. So yes, enjoy the scrimmages, but they're probably not going to be a prequel to what you see during the year.
No, well, let's hope not.
Yeah,
because you're gonna have some lineups out there that are
interesting,
interesting lineups for sure. So, but hey, this is why we're fans, right? We want to see the team. We want to see the guys that have grown, and and we want to see what Matt can put out. I mean, we projected to finish third in the league. There's some really heavy hitters, with UConn and St. John's, but other than that, the door's open. And who knows? I mean, I still think you win if you can, that stretch we talked about in one of those episodes. You put together some wins in that stretch, and you don't know. I mean, this team could surprise us. So, and overachieve.
This has been the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pepper Jack's Grill and Pyramid Contractors. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Big East Energy. Network has continued to grow, and the season isn't even here yet. You don't want to miss out on all the coverage from around the conference today. Thank you to Pepper Jack's and Pyramid Contractors. Thank you to all of you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Why you need to try Pepper Jack's Grill, the best Philly cheesesteak in America. At Pepper Jack's Grill, we craft your Philly just the way you like it. Fresh ingredients, sizzling on the grill, and endless customization options. Not just Phillies, we've got rice bowls, burritos, nachos, and even vegetarian choices. And don't forget those crispy fries with our famous spicy ranch. With 10 great locations in Omaha, there's a delicious meal waiting for everyone in the family. Pepper Jack's Grill, your Philly, your way.
At Pyramid Contractors, we do it all. From repairing or replacing your roof to updating siding, windows, or gutters. When you have a home improvement project, call Pyramid Contractors.
Pyramid